Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Amanda Ferber. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Architecture Hunter. And for those who are new over here, Architecture Hunter is one of the world's leading platforms dedicated to architecture and design. Since 2013, our mission has been to inspire, inform, and entertain, always highlighting the most powerful ideas in architecture from every corner of the world. We do this through different formats, so short videos, interviews, editorial series, global coverage, and now through a new chapter we launched this year, our educational pillar. Given how much knowledge we access every day from innovative studios, transformative projects, and visionary architects, we felt it was almost our responsibility to create this kind of open, accessible space for learning and exchange. Each month, we explore a different topic, and this month's theme is education, learning by space, the architecture of knowledge. And today's session brings together two incredible names who have shaped the way we design and experience learning spaces. We are honored to welcome Francesca Singer, partner at SANAA, the Pritzker winning Japanese studio led by Kazuyo Sejima and Nishizawa, and also Francis Kéré, 2022 Pritzker Prize Laureate, and one of the most admired architects in the world. Just a quick note, just a quick heads up before we begin. Unfortunately, Francis had an unexpected change in his schedule and he won't be able to stay for the full session. But he made a point of being here. So he will join us for the first part. And then his colleague, Jaime Herraiz from Kéré Architecture, will take over from the second half of the presentation and the Q&A. So here's how today will work. Each speaker will present their work, and then we'll have a Q&A session led by the amazing Daniela Silva, architect and journalist from our team in Architecture Hunter. So you can send your questions at any time during the presentation using the Q&A function or the comment session, and we'll select some to answer at the end. So without further ado, let's welcome Francesca Singer. Francesca, oops, I'm sorry, wait. I lost Francesca. Are you here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now can you see me? Yes. Hi. Nice to see you, Amanda.
Yes, so nice to see you again, Francesca.
Nice
Guys,
to
for you.
hello to everyone.
For who don't know Francesca yet, Francesca graduated from Politecnico di Milano and holds a master's degree from Yale. She worked in New York and Tokyo and has been part of the SANAA since 2011, leading major projects like the Bocconi University Urban Campus in Milan. She's also been teaching alongside Kazuyo Sejima at Politecnico di Milano and became a partner at SANAA in 2021. So thank you so much, Francesca, for being here. We're very excited for your presentation. Now it's time to welcome someone truly special, Francis Kéré, a visionary architect and someone we deeply admire for his generosity, creativity, and commitment to the community. So Francis Kéré is an internationally renowned Burkinabe architect and the 2022 laureate and the Pritzker Architecture Prize. He's recognized for his pioneering approach to design and sustainable modes of construction. His vocation to become an architect comes from a personal commitment to serve the community he grew up in and a belief in the transformative potential of beauty. So we're going to welcome Francis Kéré. Just let us, just a minute, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Francis. Okay, now it's working.
Okay, okay. So first of all, I have been able to follow the presentation of Francesca, and I have to thank her for that. I'm sorry for the technical issue. I could, with my iPad, I could join the conversation, and so, but then I don't know why you couldn't see me. But however, this is technique, and
Yes.
it is not far away. It is not far from my work. So thank you, Francesca, for this wonderful project. As you know, Amanda, thank you. You know, I love Brazil. And so education is a topic that is dear to me. Um, so this being, I have was in the meeting. I interrupted to be able to talk to you, but then my driver is waiting to bring me to the airport. That's why I will not waste more of your time, hoping that Jaime and Yannick are ready to allow me to share the screen and to show you our presentation.
Okay. Jaime and Yannick are joining us too, so they can share the screen for the presentation. And
Yeah,
thank you so much for accepting our invitation for this webinar. It's so good to see you again.
yeah, yeah. It's great to be reconnected, and I think this format is great because it is about education.
Yes.
So if we waiting for them to come, um, uh,
Jaime is already here with us.
okay,
Hi, Amanda. Hi, everyone.
Hi, nice to meet
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
uh,
I will share the screen so
yeah.
Francis can continue. Yes.
So it is like what he says is a duet. Jaime and me, we're gonna play a duet. As you know, so we architect, we're not like artists. We work in the collaborative way, which helps a lot, even by presentation like we have now. Um, I came to architecture through very pure necessity. Um, I grew up in a place where there was no school, and the nearest school was far away. And then I went, my father sent me there, so he allowed me to attend education. And so while being a student, I saw a lot of opportunities in Germany that I didn't have in Burkina Faso. And so as I was student, I decided to give more opportunities to many other kids in my village, and not to be the only one that has had the chance to attend education. But I didn't want them to travel. I wanted them to stay home and create buildings, and to stay in Burkina Faso, to stay in our village and be able to attend education, because I believe education is the key to, to pave a great human success. And here is Burkina Faso, as you can see, is a landlocked country surrounded by Ivory Coast, Ghana, Mali, Benin, Niger, and so it is a Togo. And so where I was born, it looked like this. It's different to landscape that many of us are used to. It's far from any urban settlement. And so we live in compounds that are spread within the country. And here is my own compound. As you could, the picture you see is my own compound where I grew up. And again, if you live here, you live within a very strong community in compounds like this. This picture is, I took this in the dry season. We don't talk about 4 seasons, we talk about rainy and dry seasons. And then in the rainy season, there is a lot of vegetation, while in the dry season, there is no there's very few vegetation, and people will use the shade of every structure. Here, a tree that they can have, it could sometimes become even the school. Can be a market. It is a gathering space, place per excellence. And then here, a beautiful comparison that I have, thanks to the eyes of my friend Ivan Ban, who took this picture. You could see in the further, at the back, there is a mango tree where the community is gathering to talk serious task. But in front of us, you have the man-made canopy to create also shade. And this is how people just use it during the day. People will come together, sit together, discuss daily life, and plan the future of the community. And climate conditions are key also for the architecture. What people use are really organic material like clay. And then clay is subject to the weathering. When it is raining, the building gets destroyed. And if you don't do it properly during the rainy season, it will collapse. But for you guys, believe me, dear student, if you are a farmer, could you please go back? If you are a farmer, in the rainy season, you have to put your effort to benefit from the water, the rain, to harvest, to produce agriculture. If your house collapses in this time, it is a catastrophe. And so to put it in the, what it is, you have to find ways to fix it, but you need your energy and your effort to produce food. And so that's why this is affecting the neighborhood very, very strongly. And then myself, I sat in the classroom similar to this one with more than 100 other kids in Burkina Faso. At the outside, there is a bright light. I remember Francesca talking about light in the school that I have created. And so here we have sunlight, but inside classrooms were very, very dark and over the top, very hot inside. And I said to myself, this is not a pleasant place to teach kids. And I wanted to create this, what you see now here, as an alternative. And then I told you I started to build as a student. And so this is to show you the difference of the images. In this place, to be able to succeed, because there was not abundance of money, but I needed to work with the community. In rural Africa, and even in some places in cities, the people are still together. Like if you have to do something that is big, you need the support of the community. And I really try to use these, cultural situation to create the school. Here already, it is a picture showing you the process of how we build a school extension. You will see older people and everyone, men and women, carrying rocks to support the construction. We will use rocks to save money, to create a solid foundation. But here we're using clay. And then I introduced a new technique in my village. This technique is about using clay that you add cement to produce solid bricks. And with that idea, you need a machine to really compress the clay, the mixture. But we have been so successful that now it even look professional. People will dress nice vests to be able to produce the bricks. But when I started at the very beginning, when I was a student, it was like a laborious endeavor. But nowadays, it has become something that is professional. And I have a lot of people that I have trained. They can do that and providing services in many places, as later Jaime will show to you. And to Jaime, seeing these pictures, the bricks are regular. Jaime has been for more a decade in the office and has really been contributing to many of our projects. But it is using what we could get from nature to transform it, to give it more strength, more quality. And so the bricks are also regular. It allowed you to professionally build. And then in the work that I have been doing, I started as a student with a big, big heart for my community. But then with no money, and even I needed to do everything. So here in a classroom, we were allowed to introduce even traditional method of making a floor. And then I can tell you, following the example of Francesca, I would love to invite you guys to really enjoy this event. You see the women beating the soil and later polishing the soil, really happy and really proud or that they're being part of the creation of an infrastructure that will benefit the the entire community. That is taken by the Aga Khan Foundation. So we did this project, and thanks to award, my work has been visible. But without this, it would have been forgotten. I want to highlight that I'm not the only one doing this kind of work, but I was lucky enough to really believe in the power of architecture to transform the community, bringing it good infrastructure really to work. These are images showing you how I work, mostly with a simple sketch, thinking about ventilation, thinking about how do you better protect the building against weathering, against sun. And every time when I go, I'm really looking and say, wow, I have been courageous and lucky to have started to build. Um, and so we built this school and like it 1 year later there were so many parents wanted to send their kids to school that we were forced to build an extension. And here I wanted to innovate. Every time when we have a new building, we don't repeat. We use maybe the same material, but we're always trying to improve, to innovate. Here trying to use a vault. And then we need to test. And then here is like how we test. I will jump on the top of the forum that we have created and to show to my community that the structure is strong, it will stay. And then this way you really convince them. And we goes over and constructing and building. And I have been always part of it, coordinating, directing, so a music director that is running to really coach very, very talented people to bring together something that is strong and like this building. And there's already the extension. Here we use a different technique. I wanted just to do an introduction to show you what it is like to really start to build in the place where there's nothing. But also, I don't miss the opportunity to share you my joys when I go back to Gando and I see these kids so happy, taking ownership of the building. It makes me very, very proud and happy that I was able to do that. But then it says me that I'm privileged, to be able to do something like this. And so this is heartwarming for myself to see how it work. And maybe we go further. And I have to leave, and that's why I let it know by Jaime to go. If not, I will miss my plane. Here is showing you very quick the intensity of the work, but also the communal involvement. And then Amanda and all the dear student, dear professor, colleague listening to me, I have to jump because I have to travel to catch my plane in New York now. So thank you for allowing me to introduce. I love so much Brazil, but I am dedicated to education. That having heard that Amanda, that I love a lot, like every one of us, because of her promotional work for architecture and education, I said I will jump in, even if it's for 5 minutes, to say hello. So Jaime, thank you for taking over, and I hope to see you guys soon. I will miss the questions because I love it the way you discuss with Francesca. Again, Francesca, congratulations. And then when I'm next in Milan, I will take this opportunity and to see and hope you will guide me through this amazing project. Thank you so much. And then bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Francis.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you.
I have to run. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
generosity.
Perfect. So hello, Amanda. Hello. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we
Okay,
can hear you
perfect.
Thank
Okay,
you
so I
also,
will.
Jaime, for joining us today to continue with the presentation.
Great. So I will continue just where Francis stopped. So basically, we're still in Gando in the school complex. So of course, after the construction of the primary school and the school extension, there was the need to create a library for this educational space. And you see how, again, Francis tried to involve the community to see what kind of materials were available, for example, this kind of ceramic pots, and to see how you could, by cutting them, try to give a different use. These pots are usually used for storing food or even for cooking, but here he was trying to cut them, make these kind of rings, and try to integrate them on the ceiling slab. And the effect that you see, it's very exciting. It's to let natural light come inside the room, but also to allow for natural ventilation to happen. So this is an example of how, using materials that are always available, you can try to create new techniques and new ideas for architecture. So now I will stop the projects in Gando, and I will jump to another educational project in Burkina Faso. Of course, after the first projects that Francis realized in Burkina, there was like a big publicity, and many clients started to have ideas to build also educational spaces in Burkina. And we got contacted by a client to create what was first a high school space, and then later in the years it would grow actually into an educational master plan. So at the beginning, the first phase of this project was to create a secondary school. And again, following already the philosophy of the architecture that Francis had developed on the previous years, we started thinking how we could learn from the local conditions, see what it is available, and then work with it. Of course, work with the community. It was one of the first times that Francis was working outside his village. So it was a really good opportunity to see how to implement all these techniques that he had developed before, and try to bring those techniques to other parts of the country. So it was also like a big exchange of knowledge and a big teaching process for construction teams. So here in the area of Koudougou, which is one of the largest cities in Burkina, we have this, what you see, it's like a quarry of laterite stone. It's a local stone that it's available just a few kilometers away from the site. And this material, it's very exciting because it will give other properties to the project, different to the first clay bricks that Francis was using in the previous projects in Gando. So this material, it's really hard to extract. That you can see is everything is done by manpower because there are no big machines. There's really a big scarcity of resources. So everything has to be done by hand. When you manage to extract these stones, the laterite stone, later you will have to cut. This is part of our team, cutting some of those stones to give them the shape of a brick that you can use to later build the masonry walls of the project. So you see, this is later in some other projects, we have been using the same material, but always working with the community, understanding what is available. For example, in this case, you see that there is a big group of women from the village working to treat what you call eucalyptus wood. It's very long wood sticks. You can even have like sticks that make like up to 4 or 5 meters, and you can use it in many different ways. For example, this one here, we're treating to create our own furniture for the project, for the school. This will create different benches where the students can sit and they can use the spaces outside the building. But you see that not just for these kind of spaces that later the students will use in a really improvised way, but also to create elements that belong to the architecture, that create part of the building. For example, in this case, you see that we are using the eucalyptus wood to create an exterior facade for the building. All of this is related to climatic studies and climatic ideas that I will be showing you in some diagrams after. So this is the interior of the classrooms. You see, as Francis was talking before and showing also the other project in Gando, what we achieved here is to have classrooms that have very bright light inside. You also see at the very back, there is a space that we will use for natural ventilation. And these are spaces where the kids can really stay calm and have a proper temperature, a proper light environment. and really focus on what they have to focus, which is in education, in learning, on the lessons. So some of the climatic concepts that we study for this project, as I was showing earlier, you see the exterior facade, the wood facade will help us to treat the air that comes in from the, for example, in the dry season, the wind, it's really dry and really dusty because it comes from the desert. So it's very important to treat that air, to slow down the speed of the air, and to kind of cool it down before it comes inside the room. And later, with this kind of chimneys that we are designing on the back of the classrooms, later we allow the hot air to escape on the top. So you see, these are some of the images of the interior courtyard. All the classrooms are arranged as an array, circular array, around a courtyard that will create space for kids to play, or even to have lessons on the outside. The project was growing in the years after. We even designed some small pavilions, like what you see here. It's a kind of kitchen buffet space where the kids will get served their food in the lunch break, and they will even sit like around the trees in the shadow and enjoy the exterior spaces, always inside the plot of the school. So again, here we were trying to give a different idea to the existing ceramic pots, which are really highly available in Burkina. And on this case, we had the idea to plant some trees to create landscape around the school. And it's really important to understand that, for example, in this project, the conditions of the soil are really hard, because the upper layer of the soil, it's really strong, and it doesn't almost allow the water to filtrate and to properly irrigate the roots of the trees. So the idea we had was to excavate big holes where we could plant the trees, create a softer soil that would accommodate the roots, and then use these ceramic pots to fill them with water and later irrigate, like slow irrigation for the trees. This would help to create like a really strong landscape concept. And as you see, we made it all around the plot. And you see in some of the first stages, the trees were very small. You see that the site is still very dry. But with the years, all these pictures are in a process of like 3-4 years. So you see how fast we managed to actually grow these trees. And the project even became kind of a forest. It's a place full of shadows now, where kids can just play under the trees, have a really climately friendly space. We're helping also with planting trees against all the problematics we have in this area of the country with the desert, etc. So you see how powerful this element became in the project. Even like you see how the full plot, it's getting really green, like in each of the pots, it's still standing close to the trees to keep with the irrigation. So you see, this is the central courtyard of the school. You see how the trees were very little on the first years, and even like few years after, how they have grown and how they have provided all these shaded spaces. This was the first part of the project, and then the project became so successful that a lot of kids from the surrounding villages and the big city of Koudougou wanted to attend education here. But of course, when they would finish high school, they didn't have the chance to have university studies in the city. So they would have to move either to the capital, to Ouagadougou, or to other countries. So the client wanted to create another building inside the same plot, which it was called the BIT, Burkina Institute of Technology. And this would provide educational spaces for university studies. So this is the exterior of the building. You see that some of the same architectural elements are repeated here, like the eucalyptus facade. But how did this project start? Here, it was very important to mention that the project would consist on different phases. So we would have to create a system a modular system that would allow to build a first phase. What you see here, it consists on 5 classrooms plus offices for the teachers, and then a second phase where we would build 2 big auditoriums, one for 100 students, another one for 250 students. So we would have to find a modular system that could allow ourselves to design the project very fast, and also the construction on the side to happen also very quick. So we started with the study of the section, how the ventilation could happen. Again, we would try to repeat some of these elements, like the chimneys that would allow the hot air to escape on the top, but also to collect some of the water. Here you see some of the diagrams we were making at the beginning while we were chatting with the client, trying to find the ideas that would make the project. And you see that it's a repetitive system. It's a kind of type section that gets repeated, and it creates a larger size building. So these are some of the concepts. Again, we are having an exterior facade. The air coming from the desert will slow down, get cool, and then go inside the classrooms. And with the big ventilation chimneys, we allow the hot air to escape on the top. Also with the roofs, we create a system to collect the rainwater, which will be later used for the irrigation that you saw of the trees. But how do we build this building? It needs to happen very fast. So usually when you build with masonry walls, the process of construction might get a bit slower because it's a lot of work of placing all the bricks. So here we tried a different technique, which consists on using clay as a main material, which mixed with other type of sand and small percentage of cement to stabilize. You could create a formwork, and in a similar way to how you pour, for example, reinforced concrete, here you could pour the clay mix and let it dry for a few days, and then dismount the formwork, and this is the result that you have. It's a full clay wall with just a small percentage of cement. It's not compacted like rammed earth, but it's self-compacting because of its own weight and vibration. So it's similar to the technique you use for concrete. So we achieved here to create a system of formworks that we could mount very quickly, even by manpower. As you see, there are no big machines on site. There is also no electricity. Everything works with generators. So the construction team can mount all those formworks very quick. And of course, it has some kind of frame structure, which is done with concrete. And therefore, you see how we're placing here some of the reinforcement. And this system grows very fast. And when you dismount the formworks, this is the result that you have. Of course, you need to slightly clean a bit the surface, but it's just ready to continue with the construction. And then those formworks will get dismounted. They will get moved to the next classroom, and we will build the next classroom in just a few days. So even the roof structure, what you see here with metal profiles, everything it's happening on the site. All these kind of trusses or beams that you see here, everything is prepared on the site, prefabricated on the ground. And then the team, again, without any crane, just by manpower, they're bringing all these beams up and mounting the roof that you see that will also grow very fast and allow to protect all this construction in clay. Of course, when you build with clay, you need to understand what's the nature of the material. So you need to protect the clay. That's why you see in most of our projects, you have all these overhanging roofs, which will protect the walls and protect against the rain, against the impact of the rain. So some of the use of the same materials, you see the eucalyptus wood was used, for example, here for the ceiling of the interior of the classrooms and auditoriums. This will allow also the air to filtrate to the top and to escape on the upper side. And you see some of the elements like doors or windows, everything is prepared on site. The metal frames, the wood, everything is done on the site, mounted. Even some of the furniture, I told you there were some classrooms and then 2 auditoriums. So this is a prototype we did for the furniture of the auditorium. And you see how our team was even testing how to prepare a metal structure covered with wood and even like some folding chairs. that we would mount on the interior of the auditorium, and this is the result that you would have. This is how it's looking at the end. This is I think this is the small auditorium, and you see how already the students are using it. There is no air conditioning, there's just ventilators to move a bit the flow of the air, and then there's the natural ventilation system. So you see some of the exterior spaces, the landscape, even with the wood, you see how we created these benches around the trees to create sitting spaces. And this is how the central courtyard of the high school, of the university space looks like. You see even some of the spaces become like improvised classrooms outside. And these are some of the exterior corridors, what provides protection to the wall, but also provides a very cool space, because it's the air, it's already filtrated, you have shade, and you still have the wind that flows. So these kind of really great spaces that the students also use a lot outside the classrooms. Also some of the computer rooms, you see how we design even the louvers to kind of close if you need to have darker spaces in case of projections, but also open if you need to have light inside the rooms. And on the site, it was also important to treat not just the architecture, but I was also talking before about the landscape. And here it was really important to mention that there was a big influence of the rainwater. As I said before, the soil, it's really hard. So when it rains very hard on the rainy season, the water doesn't almost get absorbed by the ground, but it flows very fast, destroying everything on the surface. This was happening on our plot. And one of our ideas was to create kind of a landscape element, also planted with trees, that would protect and divert the water to protect our site and protect the building. So this is one of the big water tanks that we design on the site, and all the water that you saw that it's collected on the roofs, thanks to the system we have created, will get stored here. Of course, this is not water for drinking, but it will be used also for flushing toilets, for example, or for irrigation. You see that even on the plot, we designed some kind of sculpture, I could say, that it's a water tower. What we have here, it's a structure which we will use to later place water deposit on top. And then with a water pump, we will bring the water of that big tank I was showing you earlier to here. So we ensure that we always have water pressure to irrigate our land. And even you see like some months and years after, you see how big plantations were happening on site. So it's not just about architecture, but about also creating spaces that are pleasant for the users and that could look a bit beyond on what you are creating with the building, but also thinking how you could improve certain situations. So in this case, I would like to finish and conclude with these aerial images, which I think they're really powerful, because sometimes what Francis and the team of the office think, it's that with this kind of projects, we are bringing light to places that somehow have suffered big scarcity of resources and really challenging conditions. But through the architecture, you can create inspiration for, especially in this case, for small kids or even like university students. And this will inspire them to know that something different is possible, and to really get their minds on the mindset to really try to create innovation and really fight for things that could improve the conditions on the site. So always, it's not just creating a space for education for the students, but also all these projects allow us to create a certain knowledge that we will later exchange with other construction teams. We will bring some of our colleagues to other projects in other countries, and we will repeat some of these techniques and always learn from different techniques of different countries. So it's also an educational process for ourselves as architects, but also for designing spaces and building spaces. So thank you very much. I would like to conclude with this image, and I thank you for your attention and give the word again to Amanda and Daniela.
Thank you, Jaime, and also Francis for the presentation. It was a very dense presentation, and thank you for sharing your passion for building learning spaces and empowering communities. That was very clear in your presentation. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So starting with to start a bit the conversation, I will ask something related to the end of your presentation, that you were talking about creating these learning spaces and the relation with the community. So during the presentation, for me, it was very clear that many of your projects go beyond the physical form, and they are designed to be more of a community landmark. So my question is, throughout your different projects and your experience, how has it shaped, how has your, or how have your projects shaped the social and cultural life of those communities?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great question, and I think this is also what pushes us every day to keep trying to find innovative ideas that could create different examples, because we are really sure, and we have seen it, that with these kind of projects, you create somehow inspiration to the people that will see it, and it's very important that the people realize that even with traditional techniques or materials that have been always available for them, like the local clay or the ceramic pots, like materials, the laterite stone, that could be or could look very simple. If you try to use them in a different way, you could create different types of architecture that could improve the conditions. So we have seen definitely that this is creating an impact. And we have seen that in some of these countries, I would talk about Burkina Faso, but also we have worked in many places in East Africa, like Uganda, Mozambique, Kenya. We have seen that some kind of architecture, it's starting to use kind of similar ideas, or we see that we are managing to create some influence on how other people might think to create their own spaces.
That's very powerful when you see that impact that goes beyond just that community, but you see that impact go further. And
Yes.
following what you were saying, and I noticed that many of your projects are designed in contexts and for communities with limited resources. How do you ensure that these spaces remain resilient and adaptable over time?
Mhm. I think this is part of the reason why involving the community becomes so important. Because if you just go somewhere, create a building, and then tell to the people, okay, here are the keys, you enter the building, this is your space, people might not understand how the space has been created, what do you have to do if you need to maintain certain materials. But the moment you integrate the local community on the construction process, people will understand how the building has been built. So if you as an architect or construction team you're working with, if you leave that place after a few years when there is a need for maintenance, the people of the community know the building because they have done it themselves. So this is one of the most powerful reasons that make us always try to work with the community, but also to be sure that no matter what happens to the building, the maintenance will be ensured, because people don't just understand how the building is done, but it belongs to them because they have done the project with their own hands. So this is the best way to invite people to take care of something somehow. Yeah.
So it's very almost like um, a group work, right? A teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just for the architects, but also for the community. Very, very interesting. And so beyond their physical form of these educational spaces, what role do you see architectural playing in shaping how people experience education?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, we always hope that at the end we are technicians, right? We try to create spaces that answer in the best way to a certain need, and we hope that if we can give something else with our project, in this case, if we can give inspiration to little kids to really think that everything is possible, that there are different ways to deal with what you have seen every day. This is one very strong reason already, but yeah, I think that could be one of the reasons, I think. Yeah.
Okay, to inspire younger generations.
Yes.
Okay, so before we jump to the community or the audience questions, I have one last question. That is,
Sure.
globally, what elements do you think are universal when it comes to designing spaces for knowledge exchange, for learning spaces?
Well, I think there's certain conditions that we see they're needed everywhere, no matter how you're designing an educational space. You need to give, for example, a certain comfort to the students that will occupy the space. What you saw on one of the first images, what Francis was showing, how schools are usually built in some places in Africa, you wonder yourself how even the kids are able to learn if they're just suffering, there is no light, the space is so hot. So I think there's certain parameters that for sure are universal. And it's one of the first one, it's to give comfort to the space. Of course, you can achieve this. In our case, we try, because there is a big scarcity of certain resources, we try with very basic gestures of architecture, like creating natural ventilation, for example, or natural light inside the rooms. With some small gestures, we can really improve the quality of those spaces. And hopefully, this could also, I think, serve as a reference for everyone, not just building in Africa in our case, but even if you're designing a school in Germany, to think that even if you have so little resources, you're able to create something that it's powerful. So what can you do if you have all the resources available, like you would have, for example, in Germany? Sometimes if you come to very basic decisions, like dimensioning correctly a classroom or creating cross ventilation, etc., you could find yourself improving the quality of the spaces without needing to really have all the resources available, like air conditioning or similar. So I think definitely there are some universal parameters that are common, no matter where you work. And hopefully, yeah, in our case, we are working in certain conditions. Hopefully this can create examples on how to improve. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a very powerful answer, I would say. Okay, moving on to the audience questions. I have here a couple of questions. So the first one is, how do you approach the community and what are the challenges you face initially?
Yeah. So how do we approach the community? I mean, in the case of Gando, the home village of Francis, it was clear. He was the one that saw that there was a need and he was just working with his own community. But of course, how do you extend this kind of procedure if you're working in a community that it's not yours? Every time we start a project, there is basically, I mean, normally there is a client that comes to the office saying like, I am working with this local community somewhere, let's say Burkina Faso, and there is a need. So this first step has already been approached by the client. The client is our main point of contact to the project we are going to realize. But then, of course, every time we are working, no matter in which country we are working, which part of Africa, we always work with a local team, for example, architects or engineers, and these people are always on the site. Even if we are working from Germany, you might think that the distance, it's complicated to design a project, but we have our own team on site, which is the direct point of contact with the community to understand what are the needs, to understand if the project we are proposing is responding to all those needs, or to make the necessary changes. And then, for example, when it comes to construction, sometimes, for example, in Burkina, we have, at the end, we have developed our own construction team. which will move to a different village if there is a new project, and we'll get people of the local community integrated in our own team. So this is an exchange already of knowledge, people from our team, people from the local community, and this is basically the way we always start with the project. And yeah, I would say it's really powerful. I think it's something that maybe in places like Europe or I don't know, Brazil, but in Europe, I don't see this happening very much. For example, the voice of the community is sometimes not so much part of the project. Depends, of course, but I think in our project, we are really lucky that this happens and makes the project very strong.
Yeah, it's very clear that for you, it's not negotiable. That part, it's really
Yeah, of course.
already part of your DNA. I
Yes.
feel that in Europe, we are starting to see some changes on that direction, of what you were saying, avoiding these, okay, here is the key, this is your project, surprise.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm starting to see some changes on a new direction, which is good, but I think those things
Yeah.
can take a bit of time. Okay, so another question is more technical. Do you usually have a stage in your design process where you build only to test how effective your passive ventilation and lighting strategies will be?
We usually have a stage. Well, I have to
I'm
say
assuming
that
this is more like
yeah.
if you build prototypes.
Yeah, we normally build prototypes. Yes, for sure, definitely. And what we have, it's already also through all these years, we have gained a big experience, and we already have some basic knowledge of what will work. So already the first idea, we already know how to direct this concept into a prototype that we're almost sure it will function. But of course, prototyping, it's very important, especially if we are working in different places where we are using different materials for the first time. We're always doing prototypes, not just for us to understand if our concept is feasible, but also for the local team to understand what we are trying to implement if it comes to new techniques, because it's never easy to say, for example, you come to Uganda and you say, yes, we have done this in Burkina Faso. Now we want to do it here, but maybe it's a technique they have never used. So sometimes we are bringing also some of our construction team members. They're coming with us to other countries, and they're building themselves the prototype with the future construction team. So already there is this exchange of knowledge, and the prototype becomes always a very important part of the process. So yeah, definitely, there is always prototyping in the projects.
That's interesting. Another question is, we know water is a scarce resource in these areas. How do the team deal with this for bathrooms, community kitchens, and so on, for the children, in case they cannot develop a water tank?
Yeah, usually this is a really tricky and challenging point, especially when you are working in a rural environment where there is no access to drinking water, for example, or there is even like no sewage system. So whenever you have a toilet, where is the gray water going to? So usually that's why the surface of the roof in our projects becomes a really important element of the building. It's not just protecting from the sun, but it's also always directing the water in a certain direction, collecting the water, and ensuring that you can use this one later. We install always like water tanks to use water for flushing toilets or irrigation. And then after the water is used, the gray water goes to septic tanks that later will get clean once, I don't know, once every few months, depends on the use and the capacity. But yeah, there is always a concept for the water treatment, because if you design a school, of course, you need to design bathrooms. You cannot just consider that people are in the nature. So it's something obvious. Yeah, it's always a part, very important part of the project. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. And the last question is, you have elevated earth, a humble, often overlooked material, to the center of contemporary architecture. What is the symbolic power of building with earth today? In your case, I think it's more than symbolic. It's very much like what you have available on the site.
Yeah, and I would say that, of course, we also have realized with the years that it has become a really powerful symbol now of architecture. But in our case, it started by simple need. There was a need, what is available, there is clay available, how can I use this material to create something that I can use for building? In that case, it was clear, but of course we understand that now it has given a very big impact to the architecture world, which somehow is, I feel it's coming back to the roots of architecture and really understanding that even if you have a very ancient material like clay or like wood that it's available or stones, you could create very modern architecture and innovative architecture and really high quality spaces with ancient materials. So for us, that's the most powerful part of the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very clear in all of your projects that you shared today. Thank you so much, Jaime.
Thank you.
I think we can wrap up. It has been an honor to have you and Francis here today with us. Thank you so much once again. The office work, it's very inspiring, and it shows us how architecture can go beyond buildings to truly change lives. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been an honor also for us in name of Francis and name of the team and myself. Has been an honor to participate and to show some images of the work we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaime, for your lovely presentation. And please say thank you to Francis too. And Danny, thank you so much for leading the Q&A as always perfectly. And well, some of you guys from the audience have been asking whether this webinar will be available to watch later, and the answer is yes. All of our webinars are recorded, and in fact, you can already watch the past editions of on our website. We launched this educational initiative back in February, and there's a lot of great content there already. And now, just a quick note, we're still confirming whether we'll be able to publish Francesca's full session or not, due to SANAA's internal policies. Some parts might not be made public, but we are checking with her, with her team, and we'll keep you posted. Anyway, stay tuned. And also another exciting update. Today we officially broke the record for both attendance and number of questions submitted during a live Architecture Hunter webinar. So since we couldn't answer everything live, we'll be working on a way to respond some of your questions, both for Francesca and Kéré's teams, in another format soon. So stay tuned. We're not sure if it's gonna be a post on our Instagram or maybe a video in our chat community on Instagram. So stay tuned because you guys really made up some very interesting questions, and we really want to like one of our objectives with the webinar is to connect you guys with the speakers. So we're going to work on it and try to find a way to get to get to you these questions answered. So again, thank you, Francis, Jaime, and Francesca, and everyone who joined us today. And of course, thank you for amazing audience. Your presence is what makes this session so meaningful. And stay tuned. We'll have more next month. So yeah, okay, that's it. Thank you, guys, and see you next month.